Oh my goodness. And just like that, we are live. It is Wednesday. I'm in Puerto Vallarta. Cody is in New York. What is going on? You are watching and, of course, listening to Tags Live, aka Talk About Gay Sex, the live edition, where we're here every Wednesday night on the Crowdcast platform. I am your host, Steve V. This is episode 753. Holding down the fort with me, as he always does, the lovely, talented Cody Maurice Doggett. How the hell you doing, Cody?
Hello, darling. I'm doing wonderful. How's Puerto Vallarta, girl?
It's great. It's nice and warm. It's still season considered for them, so it's 90 degrees. Was at the pool yesterday, today, enjoying it with some friends, doing some work, of course, at the same time, but it's lovely. And shout out to Puerto Vallarta, because we all have heard that there was a kerfuffle happening a few months ago, but I am here to front lines reporting that it is safe to come to Puerto Vallarta. It is lovely. The people are waiting here for you. They are so lovely. Any kind of trip you want to make it, if you want to party and have a lot of good sex like we talk about on this show, this is your place. If you want to relax by the pool and have lovely fine dining dinners or just nice dinners, this is your place. If you want to look at beautiful, gorgeous sunsets, honey, those sunsets are to die for. And workouts, hiking, all the in between, everything. This is your place, and your dollar goes far. So I am your PSA today to talk about Puerto Vallarta, and yes. But we are live, and we are in front of a live virtual audience. So keep throughout this hour. We want to hear from you. We're giving some advice a little bit later, but we thought today we would continue what we were talking about on episode 751. We were really deep diving into mental health and how it relates to our relationships, our sexuality. If you don't feel like you're ready for sex or a relationship because you're working on yourself, we feel you should dive in. But we were talking about our own mental health, and I was mentioning that I'm seeking couples therapy with Diego newly, not because there's an issue with our relationship, but because why not get ahead of it, right? And develop good communication skills. We'll let you listen to the entirety of that episode 752. But on this episode, we are going a little bit messier, a little bit sexier. It's Wednesday night. It's hump day. Come on now. Hot, healing, and a little messy. We're calling this. And you know what I've been thinking about lately, Cody? We spend so much time trying to become this finished version of ourselves. Like one day we're going to wake up fully healed, fully confident, zero baggage, perfectly ready for love, sex, connection. But what if that day never actually comes?
Girl, we are not cakes. We'll never be finished, okay?
Never finished. We're not perfection. What if that day never actually comes? What if we're always a little bit in progress, a little bit healing, a little bit rock and roll? I said it, a little bit figuring it out as we go. And here's the real question while we're in that space, while we're not totally okay, are we still allowed to be desired? Are we still allowed to want someone, to flirt, to connect, to have sex? Well, that's a resounding yes, I know. To feel something, because let's really be honest here. I mean, if we're always honest on this show. Sometimes
too honest.
Sometimes a little too TMI, as I'm reminded by a lot of people in my arena. Sometimes your mind is like, we should journal, we should reflect, we should take a break. And your body's like, or we could text him back. I've been there for sure. And that tension, that space between who we are and who we're becoming, that's where a lot of our real lives actually happen. That's where we date. That's where we hook up. That's where we try, sometimes succeed, a lot of times completely spiral. But hopefully we laugh about it later. And if you can't laugh, like my good friend Mama Tits, who I'm going to reference in a minute, what do you have? If you can't laugh at life, what is the I mean, laughter is everything to me because not all sex comes from a place of perfect confidence. Not all connection comes when we feel 100%. Sometimes it comes when we feel slightly off, a little vulnerable, maybe a little messy, but still open. And maybe that doesn't make us broken. Maybe that makes us human. Maybe being a work in progress doesn't make us feel less sexy. Maybe it makes us feel more real, Cody, more present, and honestly, a little more interesting. So, tonight or today, when you listen to this episode 753, we're talking about that space. You know, that space where you're healing, but still horny, or you're growing, but still craving connection, when you're not totally okay, but you're still showing up anyway. And the question is that a problem, Cody, or is that actually where the magic happens?
I hope so.
And I think that's where it actually happens. And, you know, we had Mama Tits on the show recently talking about her stage 4 cancer, and she just rung the bell where she is cancer free. And I ran into her. I saw her show last Saturday. It's so good. She has a few more shows left for the rest of this season. Check it out if you come to Puerto Vallarta. But I saw her on the street yesterday, and you know, it's such a community here. I was getting a little cocktail, waiting for my friend, coming out of her facial, checking out the eye candy, looking around, talking to the manager. Shout out to the Studs Bar, and out comes my friend. Love it. Out comes my friend. Yeah, you've been there.
Yeah.
And down the street comes Miss Mama Tits with those brand new fresh nails clicking away. And she goes, "Hey, faggot," as she does, and only she can do, and calls me out. She was telling me she was about to make, you know, now she's not having to go to Guadalajara to have treatment anymore. And I reminded, how does it feel? And she was going to make dinner for her best friend who was in town, her new man that she's been together with for a year, and her ex-husband, who's now, hopefully she doesn't mind me sharing all this, but who's leaving the country, and they're all going to make it work. And he's leaving soon, so all will be good, and she can spend more time with her man. But that's when things are not perfection, when things are just, you know, you make things work. And that's what we're talking about today, Cody. And what do you think about the question is it a problem when you're not totally okay, but you're still showing up anyway for sex, and you're showing up for even dating and relationships?
Yeah, so I'm glad we're continuing this conversation because I feel like for me, I was still kind of finding my balance of what I wanted to share around this because a lot of topics that we talk about, I feel like we are looking backwards. And you know, hindsight is 2020. I have very clear understanding of where I am and how I feel about a lot of those topics because they're kind of behind me or it's something that I'm not going through currently. This topic is me right now. I feel like I am still healing from so many things that transpired in the past 2 years or so, 2 to 4 years. And I feel like I'm just putting myself out there as far as sex, relationships, dating. I've been on a couple dates, so I feel like I'm just getting back started up after, you know, my relationship ended. So I want to be vulnerable, but again, it's like, oh my gosh, how much do I reveal about where I am currently? And you know, I am, like you said, we're horny individuals in life. So the healing, while it is continuing, the horny doesn't stop. And I feel like we are all basically in some space where healing is occurring for many different reasons. So I think that we can't stop having sex just because we are healing, because we're all constantly in that state, I feel like.
I do too. I think that was one of the things that we really hit on towards the end of the show, and we can continue that conversation too. And honestly, for sex, for sure, I think it's kind of our makeup, especially as gay men. It's kind of in our DNA, men on men action, and I think that's why we started the show, to really look at the various how we play and the various stages of life as we play. And now we're just kind of just looking at it a little bit differently too, because we dabble into relationships too. I mean, if somebody had asked me, do you want to work on yourself before getting married? I probably would never have gotten married, right? And but hopefully I've been doing the work on myself. Now we're doing the work together, and it's a lot of work, but I'm here for it. I'm here for the homework. But I mean, have you ever been emotionally off but still physically on? I think that's the question, and I think it's a resounding yes.
Yes, yes.
But
The
what
whole
about
past year of my life has been me not being mentally all the way on, but physically I am on point. And put it down. So, yeah.
do you lean into sex when you're off or avoid it? I think I lean into sex, especially when I was single. It was maybe unconscious, but it was my escapism. It was the naughty side that I didn't have to tell anybody, maybe some close friends. Sometimes I didn't even have to tell them either, it was my own. I think a lot of us as gay men have had to compartmentalize our sex lives, whether a good thing or not. And when I've been in tough times as a single man, I leaned into it, but it was normal in what I did my entire life. What about you? Do you lean into sex when you're off or avoid it?
I lean into it. I'm just a sexual person, and like Marvin Gaye said, sex is healing. When I get that feeling. So I
Yes,
think, and physical touch is healing. So being intimate with someone else, and just having that space where you can actually you know c- connect with somebody in that way, that can be a form of healing too. So I really, for me personally, that's one way that I go through the healing. Yes, I cry. Yes, I meditate. Yes, I talk in therapy. But sex is part of that entire thing. Again, I'm probably mentioned it in the last segment when we talked about this, but everything in moderation, as long as you're not relying on something as a crutch, and you're not really leaning into it to where it becomes like obsessive or obsessive compulsive. I think that everything can be healthy in moderation. A lot of
absolutely.
things can be healthy. So let me not say everything.
Right. Good. Yeah, we got it. But yes, good.
Yeah,
Always a good
yeah.
clarification. Let's talk about the types of sex we have when we're not okay. I'll break it down. Here's some top four. These are kind of fun. Validation sex. What does that really mean? Validation sex would be, say, tell me I'm hot so I feel okay again. When you're looking for that validation to just make you feel top of the world, and they say all the right things. Oh my God, your body. Oh my God, you take it so well. Oh my God, you give it to me so well. That dick. Oh
You
my
sound
God,
like
that
you've heard
ass.
these things before. I don't
Yeah, I
know.
have a good recall memory on and
Yeah.
a good data bank here that we're looking at. Yeah, definitely validation sex
Yeah.
is, even if I've never acted out on it before. I mean, I'm now a lot more aware of it. People, when, you know, I mentioned before that Diego and I currently aren't playing that much. I mean, we just play together, but every once in a while, someone will slide in and say something, and I'm like, oh, that's so validating and feels good. But yeah, I mean, how about you? Validation sex? Tell
Oh
me
yeah.
I'm hot so I feel okay again.
It's not something that I necessarily asked for, but I feel like, I don't know, this world can break you down in so many ways, as far as uh like your physical attraction and things of that nature. So I think it's good to hear, just to boost your ego a little bit. But again, if it's a crutch, let it go, and try and lean into more healthy ways to validate yourself. There's also that component to it as well. It's about balancing, validating yourself, and also hearing it from other people, because it does help from other people. You as a person, you're kind of biased. Your mom is a little bit biased as far as your attraction. So again, make sure that you're balancing things out, and that you are keeping it nice and healthy out there.
Yeah, I think consciously aware of it can be a good dose of it. I think sometimes validation, I think sometimes we doubt ourselves. So if somebody's giving you those compliments, as long as you're aware of it, I think it's good.
Yeah.
Escape sex. Escape sex would be things like avoiding feelings, stress, or loneliness. I mean, I think most all of us have done that before. If you're going through something, escape sex is a great darkroom moment where you don't even see the person's face, maybe their eyeballs, but barely. And it can be really hot. And take away whatever it is you might be going through. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's bad. What do you think about escape sex?
Again, in moderation, I feel like it's something that can actually, help you and help release some of that energy that you have pent up inside of you. So yeah, it's something I've definitely done before. And a lot of these things, maybe the most uh they're not the way that, you know, the most healthy way. I was trying to avoid saying healthy, but here we go. Here we are right here. The healthiest way to expel these emotions. But again, like, don't beat yourself up about being a human being. This is something that you do as someone in the world today as a human being. And if you are give yourself some grace as far as all of these things are concerned, because there's no 100% healthy way, I feel like, to do anything. And besides,
No.
if you're like the Pope or something like
Yeah, and
that.
these, as a reminder, are types of sex we have when we feel we're not okay. That many of us, as we said before, fall into having sex as an escape. And the next one is connection sex. This is where you don't feel great, but you want that closeness. You're actually looking to be hugged and nurtured, perhaps. And I don't know, I think I'm closer more to escape sex when I've been not okay, and then validation sex as opposed to connection sex, because
Mhm.
I don't want to see that. I don't want hugs and all that extra stuff typically at that time. But it can feel nourishing, I think, from a stranger. What do you say to connection sex when you're not feeling great?
It's something I've done before. I feel like you said, I had to be more on a positive side of things, because, like you said, when you're feeling kind of low, I feel like for me personally, it's something that you kind of just want to expel. So you go to all the things that don't require you to pour into somebody else. And I feel like connection sex, you have to be able to like be there for someone else as well. So yeah, but it's something definitely I'm looking into right now. I would like to have more connected sex. So you guys call me.
Okay, DM him at the end of the show. We'll give
And the
his
boy.
handle. Lastly, chaos sex. And that's that type of sex. You know it's a bad idea and you go anyway. You know where you've been
What's
invited
a
to
bad
that play
idea?
party. Yeah, maybe it's not even a bad idea to some people, but it can. I think I've gone to play parties with people I didn't know, and
Mm,
I didn't think it was a good idea. I saw some stuff going on at the party, but I went anyway. But you know what? I stayed for as long as I wanted to stay, and then I left. And
yeah.
it wasn't ultimately a bad idea. What do you say to that?
Yeah, that's not something that I normally fall into. No, but I mean, I've been guilty of it before. I've, met up with a guy that I said I would never meet up with because I think I was pretty intoxicated in that moment, but it happened. And again, I don't beat myself up for it. I just kind of take it as a lesson learned, and I know I'll try not to make that mistake again. But yeah, I don't normally follow in that trap. No.
Well, we are live and we have some comments. One comes from Techno. Hey, Techno. Writing in live. After my divorce, I first hopped on PrEP, then kind of went wild. And in going wild, I was able to try things I never experienced. In figuring out what I liked and who I wanted to attract, I was able to chisel out who I was and who I wanted to be. Yep. Also, I feel like everyone should go to therapy. Oh, we were just talking about that on the
Yeah.
last episode. You don't go to the mechanic just when your car acts up, and go for maintenance to make sure that your car doesn't randomly fall apart. Yeah. And we were mentioning that our co-host, Sebastian Lacaze, was saying that we put so much investment into our bodies, many of us as gay men. Why don't we invest in our mental health? Or why don't we invest in our relationships? And I mentioned, Techno, that my husband and I, early on in our marriage, are seeking a therapist. And we had our first session this week and it went really well. Shout out to Amy. And yeah, it went great. So thanks for that. Absolutely. Well, if we were to move on to, say, dating while you're healing, this gets a little bit trickier, Cody, because
Oh yeah.
you dating, we've talked a lot about on this show. We give a lot of advice on dating. We talk about, inevitably on a good date, you're sharing, it's a resume sometimes, it's an interview. You want to put your best foot forward, but you might be dealing with things. I think everybody should just assume everybody is dealing with things when you go on dates. But can you be honest and seductive at the same time, Cody?
Oh yeah, I can be honest and seductive at any point in time, anywhere. It's like seduction is part of my nature, I feel like.
Yeah.
But I think
I
really
mean,
the key
yeah.
component to whether or not you want to date when you're not 100% is are you open to a relationship? Are you open to connecting with somebody on that level? I think that for me is what draws the line, and I don't think I said that last time, but I think what kind of clicked with me is that you have to be willing to actually support somebody else, to be able to commit to somebody else in varying degrees. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think that for me is where the line is as far as whether or not I'm ready to date. How about you? What are you thinking?
Yeah, I think vulnerability can be sexy for sure. I think in my early 20s, 30s, I had a friend that called me out on it. And he's like, "You always seem like everything's perfect in your life." And I'm like, "Well, maybe it is." But I mean, the reality was, of course, I was dealing with stuff, but I could talk a good game. If I went on a date with you, you were hearing positive sides of every aspect of my life that maybe wasn't as truthful as I could have been. And I
You were
think
Instagram before Instagram.
the filters were on, the filters were real. But as I've gotten older and more confident, I lean into my honesty. Now, I do think there's kind of a fine line on those early dates on how much to share. I don't think you need to share every single thing, especially on those first couple dates with people
Yeah,
or a first date. Keep it lighter. But
you
if
don't know if
you're
you're going to see
starting,
them again.
yeah, right. And do you really want to, like, girl, do you know what he went through? I went on a date with him. And you don't want your stuff all over, you know, Center Street and people talking about you like that. So I think it's good to share, but to also be more honest with yourself when you start connecting with someone and realizing that there could be something here, and just be open and honest. I think that makes the other person open and vulnerable and honest at the same time as well, which ultimately they're going to find out at some point. And I think that's what is sexy at the same time, realizing that the humanity of us all, which I think is really good.
Oh yeah, I totally agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
What? Because go ahead. We're gonna
You
say.
go ahead. No, you were going to say something.
I was just gonna say, like being vulnerable, like you said, I think it's the sexiest thing of all. And I think that when you are going through something and you're able to connect with somebody on that something, because let's face it, we've all been through breakups. For the most part, we've all had our heart broken, and to be able to share that with somebody else and them be able to relate back to you on that, I feel like it's a
Yeah.
very special place to come from. So yeah.
And we forget that, and even those are like some of the obvious ones that can set us back. Sometimes there's something in our family that is weighing on us.
Mm,
Somebody's going through something. Sometimes it's work where in general you've got great friends, you want to go out and date, but work is stressing you out and you have that boss that is just awful and it's weighing you down. Sometimes it's financial. And or you're in between what your career goal is. Do I date even though I haven't gotten to where I want or feel I should be? No, I think a resounding dive into it, but you can be a work in progress, and I think that's what we're kind of talking about. I mean, maybe being a work in progress doesn't make us less sexy. Maybe it makes us more real, more present, and more connected. I think that's 100% true.
yeah.
Connection isn't perfection. Sex isn't always polished. It's human, and desire doesn't make for you to be fully healed. Well, let's do a fun lightning round like we always like to do. And the first thing that comes to mind, Cody, you need
Yes.
to just tell me, and I will do the same thing too. Hook up when sad, yes or no? Yes for me.
No, not if I'm
Oh
sad.
yeah,
Sad.
maybe no. Sad. Going through something, yes. Sad.
Going
Sad
through
is
something, yes.
sad. Yeah. Thank you for sad. No.
Yeah,
Sad
sad.
is like
I'm
I'm on the
I'm staying
couch
at
with
home.
ice cream.
Exactly. Watch it, Bridget Jones's Diary or some shit like
Yeah,
that.
I'm watching a true crime, horrible thing that happened somewhere. Yeah,
Or Love
it's
Jones. Yeah,
or
TV,
okay.
ice cream. Yes, that's it for me.
Best sex when you're thriving or when you're a little unhinged. Oh,
Not unhinged, girl. But yes, when I'm unhinged.
I think when I'm a little unhinged because I'm a little
Yeah.
bit more unhinged,
Un-
uninhibited.
yeah,
Okay, one of my favorite
that's
words,
what it is.
uninhibited. Yeah.
Yeah. I think when I'm thriving, I have more confidence. So there's that component to it. So I think that the sex is pretty good when I am thriving as well, but definitely the unhinged, because
Unhinged,
who knows what you're going to
yeah.
get.
Wilder, yeah. Oversharing before sex, hot or awkward? Awkward.
Awkward.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Crying during sex, human
Oh my
moment or
God.
mood killer? Mood killer.
I'm gonna have to agree. I have never had that happen to me before, and I've never cried during sex. I've never had anybody cry to me during sex. Yeah, maybe that's a new life goal that I'm going to unlock.
Oh my God, I want to be a fly on the wall.
Yeah,
Would
I'll record it.
would you date someone in therapy, or is that a green flag? Oh my God, I would totally date somebody in therapy. I would be.
Wait, my therapist in therapy, or am I like in group
I know we
therapy?
were like confusing the literal parts of these questions last episode
Yeah.
too. Yeah, no, like if they told you they're in therapy,
Oh
I
yeah,
would love
that's a
that.
green flag. Yes, for
Yeah.
sure.
You know what somebody told me too, that a friend of mine, that therapy is really an American thing in general,
Oh,
that in other parts, like in Europe, my friend was telling me that therapy is kind of looked down on. Oh, it's very American. Like you can't deal with your problems. Of course, the UK. I mean, shout out to me from other parts of the world and let me
let us
make me
know.
change my
That's
mind. But
interesting.
this is what a friend told me, and I think it did resonate with me. It was, I'm always so like loving other parts of the world, but I was like, I think it is an American thing. But you guys let us know. But I am totally for therapy, and it
Oh
would it
yeah,
would be a welcome mat for me.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely a green flag.
Oh my goodness. Let's keep this conversation going. And we can always do that over at our Tags Patreon community. You can simply go to patreon.com/tags podcast. Let's continue this conversation all next week into the weekend and so forth. Grab a free account, or if you're feeling generous and daddy like, grab a paid tier. We really appreciate it. And you get things like our after show bonus episodes once a month, plus some other perks as well. So patreon.com/tags podcast. But we've got to get into hot topics, and we've got a lot of them. So tonight is no different than any other one. When recently, favorite, he's been on the show back in the day, Boomer Banks. Did you know that he's DJ Boomer Banks now?
I did. I think I've heard him spin before. He's a great DJ.
Oh, that's good to hear. I love that. I love like moving on and doing all kinds of stuff. He's really great. Well,
Yeah.
he's quoted as saying, "My body stopped producing testosterone, so I injected 7,500 of filler into my balls." DJ, queer Mexican DJ and content creator, is been talking a lot about his scrotum recently, and somebody he got it filled with Dr. Bustamante, who's been on our show before.
Shout out to
And
Injector Chris.
yeah, Boomer Banks said when he was 25, he found out that his body had stopped producing testosterone. He said he had just gotten sober the year before and started gaining weight. It actually it's happening again, but back then I didn't know what it was. I went to the doctor, started checking my thyroid, and all things they check when your people are gaining weight. They finally checked my testosterone, and that's when they found the issue. First, they put me on a gel supplement which kind of worked, but not really. And then as a last resort, they began giving me an injection. Well, unfortunately, one of the side effects of this treatment is that your balls shrink because your body says that they aren't needed. And because I had stopped producing testosterone on my own and began injections, I started to have small balls. Well, one of the things he says in this interview, Cody, is that to him, he's, if you've been living under a rock in our community, you know how big that dick is. It's huge. It's, I don't know, 9 inches. It's great. But so he thought and went into adult content, porn star, and so forth, and never thought about the ball thing, right? Until people started, like, to him, it wasn't a big deal because he thought everybody was all into the balls. But then the dick. And then he started realizing people are into the balls, and people made some comments. Oh, you have small balls, and he started to become a little bit self-conscious with that. Well, enter a former guest of ours who's been on our show several times, Dr. Chris Bustamante, here in New York, and has a practice there that can inject your balls and make them. Scrofill is what he uses, the idea of scrofill, which involves injecting hyaluronic acid, filling into your scrotum to give you a bigger package. And he said at first he wasn't really thinking he needed it, but it fills out even your package when you're wearing a pair of jeans. It kind of fills that out more. And he's been so happy with the results. $7,500 later, girl. Guess those paychecks for DJing are pretty good, but
I know, right?
I don't know. I'm here in Puerto Vallarta, so I'm sure I could find it. We love Dr. Chris Bustamante, but I think I could find it for a fraction of the cost. What do you say to this? And somebody, I really liked this interview because Boomer, you just think, my God, with that dick of steel, what are you complaining about? And he keeps reinventing himself. But to be so honest with that, I'm sure it was somewhat of an ad for Dr. Bustamante, but still to really tell his story about testosterone loss and how he injected it ultimately with scrofill.
Yeah, I was just thinking, I saw him in the Eagle one time, fucking two twinks, and it was glorious. Oh, okay.
I'm sure,
I wasn't even looking at those balls.
Right? Yeah, right. Yeah.
But yeah, I get it. And you know what? If it was something that made him insecure about who or what he was presenting as a sexual being, then I say do what you can do. If you can afford it, buy it. And I'm happy for him. I'm happy that he's feeling a lot more confident. He seems like a great guy to me. He's a great DJ and he's a very sexy content creator. So I say go ahead and do what you need to do, sir. I'm happy for you. If I ever want to increase my ball size, I'm going to go ahead and do it too. I'm going to do what I need to make myself happy. So yeah, good for him.
It sounds like it's a hard no for one of our live viewers today by Doug, who says, nope, a needle in that area is a hard pass for me. And I hear you, that. Doug, but it's funny because Mama Tits, again, was telling her story on with prostate stage 4 cancer, had to get rid of her. There's different ways you can go about, and we don't have time to get into it when you're dealing with prostate cancer. And the way she went about, or Brian went about it, was removing all of the testosterone to ultimately put in estrogen into her system. But when they ultimately remove the prostate to try and get the sensitivity and erections again, you're trying to get that feeling back. Well, injecting into your, there's different forms. You've probably heard about them that we had in Rev for Men was one of them, where you're injecting into your penis tissue. And that I did a couple times, and that freaked me out too. It does work because it doesn't go through the blood system. It stays, but still you got to know what you're doing, and you got to do it in the right place, and you have to do the right dosage. And what I understand now, we had a syringe. Now it's like a little EpiPen now that they use, and it makes it that much easier, much like they do for diabetics, and it's super easy. But still, I mean, you're still injecting, and to me, the balls wouldn't be that big of a deal. I mean, you can push your balls aside and still get into the sack, and it's not into the actual balls. I mean, it's the sack, as
Yeah,
I
I don't know if I
understand.
could do it. Well, if Injector Chris was doing it, then I would be able to. I could do it.
Yeah,
If somebody else is injecting me, then I'll be fine.
yeah. Oh my goodness. Okay, well, moving on. We mentioned before Dave Chappelle, and we've talked a lot about it on this show, where he's had several Netflix specials, and inevitably on each special, he always has these anti-trans jokes. Well, it didn't sit well with us then. Well, now he's claiming that it's the Republican politics for using anti transgender jokes in their campaigns, saying Donald Trump's 2024 platform was a weaponized version of what I was doing. So he's trying to separate himself from the Republican side that, as many of us know, have weaponized transgender rights, being transgender people in sports, as opposed to his jokes, which were, in our opinion, would you not agree, anti-trans, correct,
Oh yeah,
Cody?
I definitely. They were punching down, and yeah.
Well,
Anyway,
yeah, and
continue.
in a recent NPR Newsmaker podcast, he defended his own litany of anti-trans jokes across his last several stand-up specials. He said, I did resent that the Republican Party ran on transgender jokes. I felt like they were doing a weaponized version of what I was doing. That's not what I was doing, Chappelle told the interviewer. He says, as an example, Chappelle offered Colorado rep Lauren Boebert, who in 2023 posed with Chappelle and another Republican on Instagram with the caption, just three people here who understand that there's only two genders. Well, that really pissed off Dave, and he was on his way to do stand up, and he actually shouted her out in a way that, said, I didn't like that she did that.
He
And
read
so
her for
basically,
filth.
yeah, and I think this interview, he's trying to separate himself from the Republican Party, but ultimately, I don't really see the difference. Maybe he doesn't want to be associated with the Republican Party, but ultimately, his jokes did not land well with transgender people. I think he doubled down on both specials with them. So he might not want to be associated with the Republican Party, but ultimately he's doing the same thing that they did, just in a different way. And I don't
Oh yeah.
understand now in this new interview where he's really separating his material with what they ran on. What do you say to this?
So it's strange to me because he sees the impact of making these jokes and he recognizes that it's not what he intended because he is a person that believes that jokes are jokes and they can just live as an entity unto themselves, but that's not the case.
Yeah.
These people take what people are saying and they weaponize them against other community against this community to make sure that their point is heard and they are elevated and then they can it's a lot in order for them to get voted into office. And I think that he's on the level of he can make these jokes because he's a comedian and it's something that shouldn't be politicized. And that's just not the case. He has a voice, he has a platform, and he has what he says matters out there in the world. And it's really disappointing to me because I feel like he was almost there. I feel like he almost understood that what he said would have would reverberate through the zeitgeist. But I think that he doesn't realize it because it's not targeted at his community. I feel like if one of his comedian friends started making black jokes about him out there in the world, then he would start to understand how it felt because there is an intersectionality between trans people and gay people and black people, the struggle that we go through out there in life. But unless you see the parallels and you actually take that into account, you're not going to know, you're not going to recognize that their struggle is very similar to your struggle. So I think that he needs to take some time and really like look at how his words can affect a marginalized community.
Which
And
is
I looked all those words up, so I used them right.
I love it. Which is what he's not doing. I think he had plenty of time to take that time. And now, because he hasn't had a special in a while, I think he's being asked about his anti-trans material, which he claims is he's really trying to separate himself from the Republican Party, which in the end, like you said originally, he was punching down to a marginalized community, not once, twice, on two separate specials for a huge bit of his material on both uh, episodes of his comedy act. And so it's, you didn't do it once, you did it twice. You spent a lot of time on both comedy specials, and your jokes were based on a marginalized community. How is that different from them running on, it's not maybe to you as funny, you might look at yours as artistic and that, but ultimately it's still punching down to a community that ultimately could be dangerous to that community. And
Yeah.
you're supposed to be, I was watching these guys talk about him saying he's a genius. I hate when people use that word genius when they're talking about people like, I've heard it, Kanye West, I've heard them use genius. His music's genius. It's like, is it genius? Is it really genius? Nobody ever says like a female like Madonna, who's been around longer and
I
put
think
out
she's a
more
genius
material, is
too.
genius. It's like she gets, dragged for so much, but Kanye's genius, even though he's anti-Semitic. And Dave Chappelle's the same thing too. Is he genius or is he punching down? Which punching down isn't a really good thing to be told when you're a comedian. It means that you have nobody else better to than go to the lowest common denominator of a marginalized community to make people laugh. And you don't do it once, you do it twice. Are you running out of jokes, Dave Chappelle? I think you are, and you're getting a little bit tired. And now you're getting a little defensive and trying to separate yourself because people are, you're being compared to the Republican Party, and that's not sitting well with you. Well, guess what? Change your material and you won't be compared to that party. That's what I got to say on that
Oh,
one.
mic drop. You better read. But I will push back a little bit and be like, two things can be true. Yes, Kanye is anti-Semitic. I still think he's kind of a genius. But I will never listen to his music ever again because he's insane as well. Go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, I just think I could just go back to, we throw that word around. Genius to you might be, I'm not calling anybody a genius because I think our whole first part of it is we're work in progress. I think people put out, I think we're let down by people. I mean, it's so unrelated, but I mean, yeah, I won't even get into it, but I just think that we're let down a lot with humanity and we should be works in progress. And I know what I was going to say. It's so unrelated, but obviously being Mexican American, Cesar Chavez was such a hero and an icon to our community and for the workers in the fields. And then to find out that after all these years, he was, raping women, and they've taken down all of his namesake because of all the allegations that have come out over the years. And so we've changed it, and it's like everybody said Cesar Chavez was practically genius, and it's like, see, things come out. So no, I don't really like that word. I think, like we started the show, we're works in progress, we're human. And I don't think, and it's always men that we make genius. It's like, enough with that.
Well,
like,
Madonna is a genius. I do think her and Janet.
I don't even think she would want to be called that, though. That would be I think that would be the brilliant thing about Madonna. It's like, don't call me that. Like, she would be, please don't call me that. Like, but
I heard the same thing about Africa Bambaataa too. So he was I know this is like completely devolving and down on the wrong track, but I read today, or I saw on Instagram or something, that African Bambaataa was sexually assaulting people in his early days in hip hop. I know, right? Crazy. Yeah. So anyway, it's not just, it's across the board.
Well, we have two more hot topics I want to get to because this is running, and advice from a listener here as well. So we're going to get to all of that. We've got plenty of time here, so let's make good use of our time. When the UK is banning Step Family is a porn company where they do a lot of things with underage looking guys. They are of age though, and daddy porn where performers role play as minors. And it might seem innocent, but the UK says differently. The government has agreed to ban the production of pornography depicting sex acts between step family members Following a vote in the House of Lords, the government tabled an amendment calling for step incest to be included in a ban on harmful content with the support of the conservative peer Gabby Burton, who led a review in pornography regulations. Wow, they really took the time here. The amendment was narrowly passed with 144 votes in favor and 143 against. Super narrow. Once the law comes into effect, anyone found to possess or publish pornography which shows incest between family members, and it's not really, or sex between step or foster relations, where one person is pretending, keyword, pretending to be under 18, will be criminalized with publication carrying a maximum penalty of 2 to 5 years imprisonment, depending on the severity of the content. Okay, so this is interesting because we spent a couple of years with Austin Wolf, who really was participating in not incest, but underage content. And this is a production company that simulates that whole experience of the daddy, the son. There's one actor, I don't have his name off the top of my head right now, but he really is of age, but he really looks super young and always plays the son. And they act out these scenes that are uncle. I think his
name is Austin too.
Okay, if you could find that, and that would be
I'll
good.
Find it.
I think this is interesting because I didn't think there was a problem with this type of porn. I do think I like the UK stepping up to this because I don't think we should be, I think, the world is fragile right now and we don't need to be encouraging this type of real life situations. I don't mind it being banned in the UK, and I would think maybe the US should follow suit. I think because it's an issue, it's a problem, and I'm here for it. What do you say to this, Cody, with the UK banning? Do you think it's freedom of speech because technically everybody is of age. It's a form of fetish, but it's simulating something that they don't want proliferated in the UK at least.
Yeah, his name is Austin Young, which is kind of ironic to me, but
it's a stage name, girl.
I know. I'm just saying.
Yeah, okay.
I know he's working that youth. But yeah, so I you know what? I used to watch a lot of this kind of porn, but I feel like for me, I really started to feel like it was a little bit not. It's like lascivious. I feel like it was like really not.
Me too, but then
for me, like it's a little creepy. It started to get a little creepy for me. So, but it was so prevalent out there in the community. I was like, oh, let me give this a try. But I quickly was like, this is not for me. I can't do this. So I'm glad that people are taking a look at this because I think it only kind of reinforces the whole, underage, overage type of dynamic that we've been seeing so much and how it's so embedded in our culture. And like, yeah, I don't want to go any further into it, but I feel like this is something that we should not be reinforcing. So I'm glad that they're doing this.
And it's a fine line too, because once we start with one, how far do we go? Freedom of speech. I think we were recently talking about daddy son. We were talking about age gaps. We were talking about how there's nothing wrong with age gaps. We were talking about that show on Netflix, which is the age of attraction, which people don't know each other's age, and the age gaps are very large. This is working on a thing that's illegal, though. It's basically, and I think that's where it gets a no, and that's where the UK is clampering down on stuff like this. And that part of it, I think, we shouldn't be glorifying this because we might be able to go in, we might know, some of us, that, okay, they're legal and they're just playing on fetish scenarios that some of us may have had throughout the years. But there's viewers out there that don't know that difference. And there is a huge problem with incest. There is a huge problem with people taking advantage of underage people. And is this helping that problem out? And why not just get rid of that altogether and at least not glorify it, perhaps?
Yeah, I totally get that. And yeah, I agree with you. I think that this is the type of thing that somebody who has those proclivities would look at and be and run with it. So I think that that is something that we should probably try and avoid, honestly.
Moving on to, you remember Noah's Ark? Come on now,
Oh
Noah's Ark.
yes, this I
And
watch it all the time still.
I loved it so much. And its lead, Darryl Stephens, who played Noah for several seasons, including not one, but two, maybe three movies, I think there
Three
were.
movies.
Yeah,
Yeah.
hopefully we'll get even more. Darryl Stephens was recently asked about Heated Rivalry's success. And one of his quotes said that show couldn't have happened with two men of color. What is he talking about? Let me read you the quote. We'll discuss. Folks are starved for male intimacy, he says, in a way that feels honest and genuine. And I think the show would have been a hit anyway, but how those two actors, meaning Connor Story and Hudson Williams, navigated that promotional tour was so refreshing to see. It felt revolutionary. I agree. I really agree. He says, we didn't know who was identifying as gay or straight in the beginning. And I think we have a better sense now. I also agree with that. But the idea that two actors were all over each other, hugging and kissing whenever they could, made us go, oh, there's a new way to, promote or whatever you want. We were just
Yeah.
talking about the manosphere, he says. I think that many men are starved for representation that allows them to be emotionally vulnerable and physically affectionate with each other. Also on the show, Hudson is half Asian, but this is the part that I don't really like. Also on
Okay.
the show, Hudson is half Asian, but white presenting enough. That show could not have happened with two Asian or black presenting men or two men of color. And only because I've been on the gay side of this industry for a long time and I've seen beautiful black men come into gay stories and how black folks respond to those stories with skepticism and fear. I agree with that. When Noah's Ark came out in 2005, half the black gay men who watched the show felt like we were too feminine and white people weren't watching the show at all. I think the success of Noah's Ark came from black straight women who were starved to see men being physically intimate and nice to see each other. When do we
That I
get to
don't
see
agree with.
that? But the majority of this country is still white somehow, and I don't think that Heated Rivalry could have hit as hard as it did in the US without two white presenting, masculine presenting main characters. And I mean, I appreciate his commenting on this. I think he, is the building blocks that led up to Heated Rivalry with all black cast, and my goodness, so awesome. But where I don't like, where he kind of, I think maybe it was a chord in there that struck with me where people have told me in the past, well, you're not really Latino because you aren't born in Latin America and you don't really speak fluent Spanish. And that's never sat well with me. I don't like when people try and tell me that. And I'm sure Hudson doesn't like being told that, even though he does look Asian to me, and white presenting doesn't really sit well with me. And I don't know that he had to carry on his analysis. He went to Berkeley. I used to see Darryl in UC Berkeley. He was a couple years younger than me, and I saw him at UC Berkeley. It's like, okay, don't be throwing your sociological things up in a simple statement. Can you just not support? But I ultimately agree, like with ultimately what he's saying. I just didn't like that statement of white presenting. Don't take that away from Hudson. He is Asian, and he gets to claim his Asianness, and I don't think he's white presenting. He's just him who happens to be half and half. You're half and half as well. You are, I'm sure but I didn't like the way that came across.
Yeah, I hear that. And I definitely want to affirm you in the fact that, and affirm Hudson Williams, because you know what, he is Asian no matter what. So I definitely see all of that. But I do think that Darryl Stephens has a point. Even though Hudson Williams is Asian, I think that for mainstream America, Asian is more palatable than black, or even a darker shade of Asian, or any of that thing. So Hudson Williams was, I feel like, more palatable.
But can I push back on you on that one?
Go ahead.
So
I feel like we need more time for this.
We
so
do.
I know. we need to continue this. Go ahead.
One thing I would say on that so many of my Asian friends have told me, and I've just heard, is that they've been non-sexualized. Female Asians have been sexualized and been made to feel sexual. Asian men None,
Asian men
like
are so hot,
they're
number one.
no, well, it has nothing to do with what we think. I mean,
Yeah, no, I get it.
but it's in media, not like no sexuality at all. And so I would push back on that. It's that finally an Asian male character that is really sexual in this show was so refreshing to me. And he wasn't just white presenting, he's Asian. Just stop it with that. Stop taking away somebody's ethnic identity. He happened to, he's Canadian, but he is, for all intents, he's Asian as well, just like I'm Latin too. And just because I wasn't born in Latin America, stop with that. I hate those things. It just doesn't. We
Yeah,
can
I agree.
carry it
I
on
would
to
want
another episode, but we've got to get on
Yeah, I
to
feel like we
advice.
really do. I want to say finally, I would not want somebody to like discredit the fact that I'm Puerto Rican just because I don't speak Spanish, all of these things just because I'm half black. I would never want to allow that. But I do agree that he is more palatable. And that's all I'm going to say. Go ahead.
And I said mine, so I mean, you have the last word. But
we definitely need more time.
Okay.
Let's continue this.
Well, we love giving advice, and today is no different. And we're going to do it really quick. This is a fun one, I think, coming from Techno, who's watching us live. I believe he's watching us live, but at least he put it in the chat. He says, "Hello, everyone. I'm a big fan of Bad Dragon Fantasy dildos. Ooh, I love buying them, but my eyes are often way bigger than my ass. Sometimes I go too ambitious, and other times I accidentally grab smaller ones that just don't hit the spot or get the job done at all. I refuse to throw any of them out. Don't do that. They're too expensive, girl. Sentimental value plus waste want not. So in the meantime, I'm working my way up to the bigger toys by stretching properly. One method I looked up is using butt plugs for training. I've heard they can feel really fun and pleasurable, but when I have one in, I mostly just feel like it's there. I know it's inside, but there's no real special sensation or pleasure happening. I feel like I'm missing something important. Is there a proper way to use a butt plug to actually get that good feeling and the stretch instead of just a meh, yep, something's in my ass vibe? Well, from quoting the good doctor, Dr. Goldstein, proctologist, who we both love.
Yes.
In general, dildos are for play and butt plugs are for stretching and prepping for that person that hopefully is going to fill you up, and also taking away pain and trauma. And by trauma, I mean not emotional trauma, but trauma that could occur.
That was the beginning of the show.
Yeah, trauma that could occur in that region. And butt plugs are a good, safe way properly to relax and stretch what is ultimately a muscle. But I would say if you're looking for pleasure too, and if you have it inside of you, take that time to go to if you're wearing it at work, go into the restroom or the stall for a moment and just move it around. The moving around will stimulate the prostate, and you can have your little moment to yourself and have that play and remind yourself that it's there and stimulate yourself, but then realize that it's also doing a job, so that then you can get on the apps and find that person that is going to fill what you've already stretched out. That is my advice. What is yours?
Love it. I think that that's great advice. And I've been trying to get, I'm thinking about getting more into butt play. Dr. Goldstein has really kind of piqued my interest as far as all of that. Yeah. He's like trying to get me going as far as that's concerned. So I'm here for it. We'll see what happens. I'll keep you guys all abreast of the situation. Also, I've been looking at these bad dragons, and they're like fantasy dildos for like aliens and horses and all different kinds of things, including like more human things as well. So I highly recommend it. I like to get fucked by an alien anytime. So I think that your advice is 100% spot on, and that you could, use the butt plug for stretching and then use the dildo for pleasure, or a human being, call me. But that's my advice as well.
Well, he mentioned at the beginning of the show, he's looking for people. So, oh my God, so much fun, Cody. We could do this all night. Thank you for writing in. Thank you. Always keep those questions, relationship or sex, coming in. We are here for you. Don't forget to go to our Tags Patreon community, where the conversation continues. Weigh in on some of these hot topics as well. I feel like we're not done on some of them.
Yeah.
Go to patreon.com/tags podcast. Follow my co-host Cody. He has a brand new EP and music video for Proof of Love out now. But follow him at Mr. Maurice on Instagram and Blue Sky to get the links to find the video and the EP. Follow me on the gram. I am _Steve V. And in the meantime, continue having hot gay sex. Lovely.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.